Mia Love, Utah Congresswoman from the 4th Congressional District. Thank you so much for being part of Three Questions.
I'm excited to be here.
With the Me Too movement, virtually every aspect of society is being affected by the issues of sexual harassment and sexual abuse, including Congress.
Right, yeah.
Let's say I have a college-age daughter who wants to intern in Washington, D.C. and on Capitol Hill. Is that a safe environment right now?
Well, I think now, certainly more than ever, it's a safe environment. I think people are cautious about how they behave. You have to understand that all of us have to be comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. So I'm having that same conversation with my daughter that's graduating high school to say you're going to be in situations and you have to know what your rights are and the fact that you have to speak up. It's the same thing, having conversations with my son and making sure that my son knows it's important to respect women everywhere. So I think that it's just, we have to change the culture of this flirtation, what's okay, what's not okay. It's just something that, as a woman, as the only female delegation in Utah, I have to do everything I can to make sure that we change that type of environment so that it's safe for anyone to work in Washington or anywhere.
Have you ever been sexually harassed in Congress?
Oh gosh, no, it's probably because I already have this defensive wall up. I'm not sure if anybody even attempts to overstep. I'm always like, not today, not me. But it's again, you have to understand that the people I think that are most vulnerable are those who are working for a member of Congress. They may not be as they may be a little bit more intimidated. I'm not one that's intimidated, and I know how to stick up for myself. And so we just have to be able to give women the courage and give them the leeway so that they can speak up.
Late last year, you introduced legislation that would ban members of Congress from using taxpayer dollars to settle sexual harassment claims against them. Is there much of an appetite for that in Congress right now? Is your bill facing an uphill battle?
Well, first of all, it is important that everyone knows, I believe, that Congress should stand by the laws that they create. And they need to be very careful with taxpayer dollars. And it's absolutely inappropriate for sexual harassment settlements or assault settlements to be paid for by the taxpayer. I think that that's absolutely out of control. The STOP Act is actually being taken up by the bigger bill that's going to deal with sexual harassment. So my bill is actually going to be passing in the House in the next couple of weeks, and I'm very excited about that. It's called the STOP Act. It's stopping taxpayer obligation to perpetrators of sexual assault or sexual harassment. And so I'm really excited that that's actually going to be put into law, and we're going to stop that behavior.
Right now, the names of sexual harassers on Capitol Hill cannot be made public if there is a legal settlement with the victim. Should the names of sexual harassers and abusers in Congress be made public?
Well, I think anytime you use taxpayer dollars, there should be a level of transparency. Whenever it's a personal settlement, I think you have to respect the victim and making sure that the victim is protected. There are a lot of people that don't want their names out there. They feel as if their names are out there, it's happening all over again and they're victimized all over again. So I want to, to me, this is really about making sure that we're protecting the victim and also about due process, because we don't want there to be false allegations either. And so when you go through the process and taxpayers aren't on the dime for it, you get a little bit more of that due process where people feel like they could either defend themselves or they feel like, okay, maybe I've done something wrong. I need to take care of this myself. But this, to me, provides transparency, and it also helps change the culture, and it also helps help protect the victim and make sure that the people who are responsible for things that are inappropriate are the ones paying for it.
You recently had an opportunity to meet with President Trump in the White House after he allegedly made some comments regarding African nations, certain African nations, and Haiti, from where your parents immigrated, in the most derogatory of ways. Now, we know that after he made those comments and prior to this meeting, you, along with a lot of other Americans, were very offended by what he allegedly said.
Yeah.
Did you bring it up in that meeting, and if so, what did you say to him?
Well, first of all, it's important for everyone to understand that I meant everything I said, that that type of language is divisive, it is unkind and unpresidential, and it's certainly not who we are as Americans, and certainly not who we are as Utahns.
You called it racist.
We saw the comments. I didn't know what the content of it was. So when I was having that interview, I felt like it was important to let people know that I wasn't in the room, and I was looking forward to talking to the president. He invited me into the Oval Office to talk about it, and we could have gone back and forth on what was said and how it was said, but I knew I only had a limited amount of time, and I always think to myself, I can either make progress or I can make excuses, but you can't do both. And so I felt like it was important for us to make sure that we make progress. I am a member elected by Utah's 4th Congressional District. I could either sit there and go back and forth with the president, or I can commit myself to making sure that we actually fix the problem and be at the table when we're talking about immigration reform. And I chose to be a grown-up in the Oval Office because that's what's expected of me. I'm expected to produce results. So do I think there should have been an apology? Absolutely. Was I going to allow that to hold me back from actually getting involved in immigration reform? No. I think it's important for me to make sure that I produce results for the people I represent.
Do you feel like it was a productive meeting? Do you feel like you were able to get the point across? And do you think changes will be made because of this meeting with the president?
Well, I think, first of all, one of the things that we need to stop doing in Congress is asking permission as to what we should be doing. There's got to be a separation of powers. Our job is a legislative branch. We are supposed to put together the bills, and it's up to the president to sign them into law. So I'm going to be working on the visa bills, diversity/merit laws, and I'm going to include everything that I think should be included in it with bipartisan support. And yeah, that will include reinstating Haiti, Belize, Samoa, and all of the, some of these nations that have the skills that we need or the talent that we need into the United States. So I'm expecting that he will either be supportive of that when it comes to signing the bill, or he's going to say sorry and send it back. But at the end of the day, it is our job in Congress to make sure that, one, I'm at the table having these conversations, being a daughter of immigrants who came here, and producing results for the people that I represent here.
President Trump has been in office for more than a year now. How would you assess his performance as the leader of this nation and of the free world?
Well, I can tell you that having a president that's able to sign bills into law like tax reform has been absolutely phenomenal. It hasn't happened in 30 years. And do I wish that the language was a little different? He's not a politician. I mean, some people love that about him. Some people have a really hard time with that. But again, it's important for me to make sure that I'm judging what we're doing in Congress and making sure that we're doing everything we can to be the ones that are putting forth policy. Now, it's important for us to try and put back Article 1 into Congress and limit the White House to Article 2 of the Constitution. Because if you consolidate too much power in the White House, you literally are removing that decision making from people. And so
in the form of executive orders.
In the form of executive orders, we are the policymakers. Yeah. That is the executive branch. So their job is to enforce the policies that are enacted by Congress.
There are obviously rifts between President Trump and members of his own party in Congress, and I'm thinking of the issues of the Russia investigation and immigration reform and the constant tweeting. In that environment, how difficult is it to get things done?
Well, as long as everyone understands that the branch of government that's closest to people is the House of Representatives, my job is to do everything I can to promote the policies that the president signs into law and to call the president out when I think that he is wrong or not representing my district well. And that's my job. My job is to represent the people here in Utah. And I'm really excited, like I said, that we have a president that will at least sign our bills into law. But it's, you know, we're not going to be able to control what someone says. And I always tell my children this. I think it's really important that we remember this. We shouldn't look to the White House to tell us how to feel or how to act. History, when they write about us, they're going to write about our behavior. So when we take to the streets and we talk about the things that are important to us, we have to do so with civility, with respect, with what I believe is the very best of American democracy. There's a little bit of that missing today, and that's what's difficult. The anger that's back and forth, and somebody who's angry because of something that the president said or something. You can be disappointed, you can be upset, but history will judge you by the way you behave. It's one of the things that I love so much about Martin Luther King. No one will ever say that he was angry or violent. They always said, you know, he always protested with kindness and civility and promoting equality for all. So.
You and Senator Hatch have been working to free Josh Holt, the Riverton
Yes.
man who has been held for more than a year now on what are apparently trumped-up charges in Venezuela.
Yeah.
Let us peek behind the curtain. What's happening on the federal level to bring him home, and why has it been so difficult to free him?
Well, we have no extradition treaties with Venezuela, and I've gotten very close to the family. It's very hard for me to talk about because they are, you can sense as a parent the desperation. And I have to ask myself, how would I behave if I were talking to a representative where that was my child? So we're doing everything that we possibly can. Venezuela is a horrible place. They treat their own people just horribly. And you can see the changes from Joshua from the very beginning. He's been in prison for almost a year and a half now. It's been absolutely heartbreaking. And so I'm not going to give up on him. I wouldn't give up on anyone. Certainly the people that I represent in my district. I'm going to do everything I can to work with whoever I can to get Joshua out, and I hope that his parents don't give up hope either, because we're all in this together, and I just can't wait for the day that we can actually bring Joshua home and say, whew, all of this effort, you know, wasn't in vain.
Without extradition treaties between the U.S. and Venezuela, what can be done to bring Utah and Josh Holt home?
Well, we're trying everything. We've tried everything from additional sanctions. We're continuing to try and work with the people that we can work with. There's really not a functioning embassy there. The country's in chaos. The regime is they don't trust anyone, so they're pretty much just going after everybody. There's so many people that are in prison right now. It's just a horrible environment for somebody to be in, and to find an American there. They don't love us. Venezuela is just gone completely down the tubes. They have the worst civil rights violations. It's just it's one of the worst places to be in the United States. So anyone who's planning on going to Venezuela anytime soon, I would advise strongly against it, because there's no telling what can happen to you. And like I said, I speak to Lori quite a bit, and I couldn't even imagine what it would be like to be in her shoes, just working really hard to make sure Joshua doesn't give up, and trying to keep his spirits up.
Utah Senator Orrin Hatch announced recently that he will be retiring at the end of his term, at the end of this year. It will bring to a close a very long and distinguished political career. Can you quantify for us his impact on Congress, the nation, and Utah?
Boy, gosh, I can't even tell you. He's been really good for the state of Utah. You know, whether you feel like he's been there too long or not, his impact on the weight that we pull as a small delegation has just been great. He's done so much and devoted quite a bit of his life to this state. He has been such a great advocate and supporter of me and what I'm doing. He's done such a great job and really was right at the forefront when it comes to tax reform and what we're going to see and the benefits that Utah's going to see from that very legislation that was signed into law. Utah's a better place because of the representation we've had from Orrin Hatch, and I'd like to thank him and his family. They've been wonderful. Thank you for his service.
We're waiting for an announcement from Governor Romney at this point to say that he's going to enter the race.
We're all waiting.
Yeah, it's probably the worst kept secret there is. But in the event that he does get elected to the Senate, what do you see his role as the junior senator from Utah? What do you see him bringing to the table in the Senate that isn't there right now?
Well, I think that you have to understand. First of all, Mitt is a great person. He's got quite a bit of experience in the business world. He's very thoughtful. I think he's going to be a great junior senator, but I think it's going to be more than just a junior senator. You have to understand that there are a lot of people that are there already that already know who he is, that have already wanted to support him in his presidential race. And so I think he's going to come in with a lot more than most junior senators have, a lot of respect, and people are going to pay attention. I think also it's going to be great, again, for the state of Utah, because he's going to go in with a lot of respect already. He's going to go in with people knowing who he is and his influence on the world. The rest of the world knows who Mitt Romney is, certainly in this country. So I think it's going to be great for our state. I am so looking forward. I can't wait till he announces. Hurry up already. I'm looking forward to working with him. He's going to be, he's just a great person. His family has been wonderful to me. He's got a great support system. So I'm looking forward to working with him and making sure that we shed a light on this great state that we live in.
Jason Chaffetz quit Congress last year, saying that he wanted to spend more time with his family. It was just after he was reelected to office. Now, you're well into your second term. You still have children at home.
Right.
How is it working out for your family?
Well, it's really, it's a family journey is what it is. My children have learned through experience that the world doesn't revolve around them, that they have to use their gifts and their talents.
Wait a minute, it doesn't revolve around them?
Yeah, well, they have to use their gifts and their talents for the betterment of society. And that's not just something that's asked, it's literally a responsibility of theirs. And you know, I have to tell you, as a parent, as a mother, as a wife, as an American, the only way that you really get those experiences is by seeing. You're not just saying it, but doing it. And so I take them to a lot of events with me. I take them to town hall events with me. I take them so that they can see this whole process, that they can appreciate what we have and the democracy that we have in this great country, and to let them know that it's their responsibility to preserve the blessings and the freedoms that we have in this country. So this has been, this has been a great experience for them, and they've learned to really take care of each other too. They've learned that, that the family time is incredibly important. I Skype my kids every night. We spend really good quality time together. I make cupcakes with them in the kitchen, and it's funny what they'll say when they don't realize you're actually asking them questions or having conversations with them. They'll talk about anything, but I have to tell you that we're closer as a family. My husband is absolutely incredible and the greatest support I could ever ask for.
Wonderful. Well, Congresswoman Mia Love, Utah's 4th District Congressional Representative, thank you so much.
Thank you
for being part of 3 Questions.
Thank you.